Okay, so we'll start with our lecture discussion for this afternoon. And we'll be discussing Unity, non-digital and digital skills and tools in delivering technology-enhanced lesson. So, may I request our co-hosts, Angge and Gian, to please always monitor your classmates to mute themselves and admit people entering. Thank you. Okay, so teaching becomes rewarding. Yeah. Pero before anything else, kamustahan mo na. How is everyone? Kamusta po ang lahat?
Okay lang naman po, sir. Happy
Buhay pa?
birthday rin.
Okay naman, sir.
Fine lang
Buhay
po,
pa?
sir.
Sino may birthday ngayon?
Serena Lynn po.
Hmm. Renalyn, taga saan ka?
Happy birthday, sir. Ako po.
Renalyn, taga saan ka, Renalyn?
Sir, taga Kabulay po.
Ay, Kabulay. Diyos ko, Santiago lang pala eh. Patol lang ako. Baka naman may handa dyan.
Sir, bukas, may kayon apo, tabangan tayon.
Hala po. Nangidyo apo ha. Nangidyo apo. Nag-invite isunan. So, to,
Last
mapanta to
week, narinig niyo yun.
In-invite na tayo amin amuyulatan. Renalyn, hindi na ako dadaan lang ako pero mag-aabot ako ng silipin.
Yes, sir.
Okay na ako sa Shanghai, pansit. Tapos kung may pinapaitan, okay din 'yon. Oo. Okay. So I hope you're all good and safe. So let's start our discussion this afternoon. My topic to discuss is Unit 3, Non-Digital and Digital Skills and Tools in Delivering Technology-Enhanced Lessons. So this is a PowerPoint of my students. Teaching becomes rewarding when learners get the most from instruction as manifested in their performance. So definitely, when we teach at our best when we have our materials with us. Just like for example, we can do anything if we have the tools that we need. Okay? For a chef, a chef can cook the best meal if he or she has everything that he needs in the kitchen. Okay? So are we as a teacher, we need our instructional tools and materials to make sure that our teaching process will be seamless and at the same time we will be effective at all. Next would be an important element in engaging learners is when the strategy used in delivering the lesson uses an instructional material. When properly and appropriately used, it can spice up a classroom activity. So do you agree that when a teacher prepared everything and the teacher really thinks of it and offer a lot of time, or meaning dedicated his time in making his or her instructional material, definitely it will add up to the excitement inside the classroom. Okay? So the thing is that most of us as a teacher, we always think of saying we need to change the world. I can become a catalyst of change. I can provide the knowledge that my learners need, and I can provide them somehow a better future. Sometimes these promises is meant to be broken. But rather doing these promises, it would be better if we just have one thing at a time. Okay? Just like for example, instead of changing the world, why not let's make our learners today exciting, and we'll be able to arouse them to become ready and excited for tomorrow's class. Diba? Instructional materials may come in varied forms. So generally, when we are talking about instructional materials, the most effective and the most efficient, cost-efficient instructional material is us, teachers. But due to the advent of technology, due to the fast-changing development in the world, we are obliged to make sure that we are not at par but with par, or a par with the technological advancement today. Meaning, hindi tayo nalalayo bagkus tayo ay nasa trend. Okay? So one group refers to the conventional or non-digital tools while other refer to the non-conventional. So development and use of non-digital or conventional materials. For this afternoon, the first topic that we'll be discussing are what we call the non-digital or conventional materials, meaning the teachers needs instructional materials to enhance teaching and learning. Instructional materials are defined as print and non-print items that are rested to impact information to students in the educational process. So when we are talking about non-digital or conventional materials, we are referring to the print and non-print items. Okay? So generally, these are what we call traditional instructional materials. So instructional materials have several roles in teaching and learning, which include the following. One, they promote meaningful communication and effective learning. That's true. Second, they ensure better retention, thus making learning more permanent. Okay? They help to overcome the limited classroom by making the inaccessible accessible. Now, for example, let me present first everything. They provide a common experience upon which late learning can be developed. And then they encourage participation, especially if students are allowed to manipulate materials. So let's go first with they promote meaningful communication, effective learning. Teachers who have instructional materials prepared becomes more effective because he or she was able to communicate meaningfully to his her learner. Meaning, since not all our learners learn the same way, not all learners have the same learning style, by providing instructional material, we can be able to meet the needs of our learners. Okay? Thus, we become an effective communicator. Okay? And it provides better opportunity for them to learn. Another is it ensures better retention, thus making learning more permanent. Imagine, remember the Chinese adage, I hear and I forget, I see and I understand, I do and I learn. There are what we call three major learning style. We have visual learner, auditory learner, and we have kinesthetic learner. Some of our learners can hear, or some of our learners prefer to learn by simply listening. Okay? While others learn better when they see things. And of course, there are most of the learners tends to understand concept by doing it, by manipulating things. Okay? Another, they help to overcome the limited classroom by making the inaccessible accessible. In the previous years, one of the most rampant problem and dilemma of teachers are the availability of books. Diba? Maraming pagkukulang sa DepEd at isa dito ay yung kakulangan sa mga libro. So, how does it how does it allow us to make sure that inaccessible becomes accessible? Since not all learners have the means to buy their own books, to buy their things, okay? By providing instructional material, we can provide this to our learner. Okay? So they can have reading materials and other things. Instructional materials also provides opportunity for learner to have a common experience about which late learning can be developed. Okay? And it also encourage participation, especially if students are allowed to manipulate materials used. So, instructional materials are the supplementary materials which help us teachers to make our presentation concrete, effective, interesting, meaningful, and inspiring. It is important to understand how to develop instructional materials. And instructional materials refer to any pre-existing material that are being incorporated, as well as to those that will be specifically developed for the objectives. So what are the factors to consider in developing instructional materials? One, we need to develop a storyboard and working outline based on the subject, goals, and objectives. Meaning, just like making a film, okay, sa mga actor, sa mga director, when we prepare instructional material, we should have a storyboard. Sir, what storyboard? Why go to that length? Meaning, sabi nga natin, ang instructional planning is the first and the most important part of teaching. Why? Because in this during this part or during this stage, everything happens. Okay? Meaning lahat ng sasabihin mo, lahat ng gagawin ng mga bata nandoon. So you need to have a storyboard on what will happen inside the class. And what are the things that you need inside the class while you are teaching the subject or the content. Identify existing institutional resources including materials and teachers' capability. The question would be, yeah, gusto nating gumamit ng technology. But the point would be, meron ba tayong material? Are this material available? Another question would be, is teacher capable of using and manipulating this instructional material? Okay. So these are some of the questions. Another is the teachers may research off-the-shelf materials that have been developed by others to determine if their approach could be useful. Okay? So what does it mean? The teachers may research off-the-shelf materials that have been developed by others to determine if their approach could be useful. Nowadays, we are living in a research-oriented or research-driven world wherein almost everything that we do, almost everything that we have is based on research. Why do we have this? Why do we have this? Because it's based on research. And generally, teachers needs to do some research, especially the things that are not easily found, for us to identify what are the useful and effective approach that can provide better understanding for our learners. We have to explore the possibility of adapting concept of other teachers without infringing on anyone's copy-protected design. Sabi nga nila, one of the best teachers are others' experience. Okay? So most of the time, we use anecdotes, we use story, we explain concept, not because we have experienced it, but others have experienced it. Diba? Most of the time, we use examples and explanation simply based on others' experience. Okay? Not all, not everything that we say or share inside the classroom are generally considered na experience natin. Sometimes we just use it, own it, simply because we see and we deem it fit or vital to that discussion. But remember that when we use the work of other in as much as possible, especially if these are protected of copyright, we must acknowledge and we must proper cite the source for us not to be sued or for us not to be legally liable. Modify existing materials based on the objective of the lesson. For example, we cannot say na meron na ako material na ito eh. Hindi na ako gagawa, ito na lang gagamitin ko. But you know, instructional material doesn't mean that it is or instructional material for you to have an effective way of teaching. It doesn't mean that you use the pre-existing materials. Rather, you use the pre-existing materials based on the objective of the lesson. That's why you need to modify it. So if the lesson requires this and your material doesn't fit to the requirement of the objective, then we have to modify it. We have to remake it, to reinvent it. So if the instructional materials are effective, then you can share them with other teachers, of course. Sabi nga natin, alam niyo sa mga teacher, gustong-gusto ng mga teacher na nag-share, especially if they use something that's effective to their learners. Okay? So the teacher developer can also sell his her material available. Totoo yan. Maraming kumikita sa mga instructional material. So now let's go with non-digital or conventional technology tools for teaching and learning examples. So here are some of the examples of the non-digital or conventional tools. You're familiar with it, right? The writing board. A writing board can display information written with chalkboard or blackboard, or special pens, whiteboard, although uh, there are usually more effective methods, okay, of transmitting information. The writing board is still the most commonly used visual aid. So, why do we have that kind of concept? Simply because since time immemorial, writing board or chalk and board is our primitive instructional material. Ng mga teachers dati, chalk and board lang, talo-talo na yan. Okay? Now, here is a suggestion on using the writing board. First, we need to make sure that the board is clean. Always clean. Okay? Use chalk or pens that contrast with the background of the board so that student can see the information clearly. Same with preparing your PowerPoint. You're familiar with this one. You have to make sure that you are also abiding the principle of color wheel. Hindi pwedeng pagsamahin mo yung dark. Dark, like for example, your board is color green. And then sa gagamitin mo, color green na chalk din. Of course not. Diba? So you have to make sure that you use contrasting color of the background or the board and your chalk. Next, make text and drawings large enough to be seen from the back of the room. What does it mean? Remember, we have different learning styles. We have different style of learning based on our students' ability and capability. Aside from that is that we also need to consider their ability or physical ability. Does it mean, it means simply that kailangan yung batang nasa likod, nakikita pa rin niya yung material na nakapost sa harap. Hindi pwedeng yung mga nasa harap lang ang makaka-benefit dun sa instructional material mo. Kasi kung sila lang nakaka-benefit, what's the sense or what's the use of providing instructional material at all? Prepare complex drawings in advance. If it's very complex, an overhead transparency or 35mm slide may be preferable. Dati kasi, pag halimbawang kailangan ng drawing, dapat naka-ready na siya. Meaning, most of the teachers have already prepared a drawing or cutouts of the material they need for the next lesson. Diba? Another set underline headings and important or unfamiliar word for emphasis. Yes. Most of the time, we use this for IBM o yung mga It's Better Manila paper. Okay? Do not talk while facing the board. Sabi nga natin dito, the teacher should have Mary Ann, yung anak mo ata anak or kapatid ba ito? Yeah. So definitely that's what we need to do, okay? Do not talk while facing the board. What does it mean? Meaning sino kakausap mo ba? Yung estudyante mo o yung board? 'Di ba? So kung kausap mo yung board, sana pinauwi mo na yung mga estudyante mo. Okay? That's the reason why, most of the time, when teacher talks and when teacher discuss things, ang ginagawa ng teacher, habang nagsusulat, Ayan, susulat siya. Okay, class, our lesson for today is all about mathematics. Di ba? So, nagsusulat siya and then haharap sa estudyante tsaka magsasalita. Because that is the most effective way on using or that's the most effective way in using writing board as your instructional material. Nothing more, nothing less. Why? Kasi kung sabi ko nga, isang bagay bakit prinsipyo or principle yung ganon, kasi it's part also of our classroom management. Imagine ha, ang kausap mo board, nagkaklase ka sa harap ng board. Eh yung mga estudyante mo nagsaksakan na. Okay? So yung tinatawag nating with itness. Okay? That's the principle of with itness. Meaning ang teacher dapat may mata sa likod. Okay, alam ang nangyayari sa buong paligid. So, hindi pwedeng nakaharap lang tayo sa board. Another is do not block the students' views of the board. Stand aside when writing or drawing is completed. So, pag nagsusulat ka, sige, ganyan ka. Pag natapos mong sulat, huwag kang nakatalikod doon. Meaning, huwag mong talikuran yung nakasulat dyan. Magpagilid ka. Okay? Para makita ng estudyante mo, ito. Okay? Like for example, this is Perfecto M. Garcia III. So, ganyan ka. Hindi yung tatakpan mo dito na wala na silang nakita. Okay? And then of course, allow sufficient time for students to copy the information from the board. Madalas ganito nangyari sa amin ng estudyante kami. Okay class, copy this. Ayan. Siyempre, copy naman kami. Halos isang oras na kami nagkokopya. Pagkatapos namin mangopya, okay class, dismissed, goodbye. Ah? Yung hindi nakakopya, hindi uuwi. Di ba? Oh. Sino naka-experience ng ganyan sa inyo?
Madalas po.
Ayan.
Elementary. Sir.
Hindi pala ako nag-iisa. Naubo pa tuloy ako sa kinakain ko. Ayan. So, diorama. Another is diorama. Siya, di pa basa nga.
Diorama. It will make the classroom to be creative and innovative. It is a fun way to build an exciting scene in a small space. Dioramas are small scene created of layers of materials, all depicting a similar concept or theme. They usually display a historical time period, a nature scene, or a fictional situation.
Who among you have seen a diorama?
Sir.
Yan.
No wonder.
Okay. Yan, madami-dami ah. Eh yung ano, yung tawag dito, yung another example of diorama eh, yung ginaganon, okay, na umiikot na ganon, may binabasa.
Ay, yung story na.
Yeah, yan. Meron sa classroom nila Cedric dati yun. Yung iniikot-ikot na ganyan tapos may iikot na ganun lalabas yung next story o kaya yung next picture, ganyan. Nasa loob siya ng box.
Kasi
Okay?
ang ganda.
Yeah. Okay. So those are dioramas. Okay? In developing diorama, you will choose a concept of theme. Research the subject, make a rough sketch of your ideal diorama, and then make a list of the items you'll need and gather your supplies. Another is select a container or box where you can place your diorama. Another is nature table. Agnes, kindly read. Yes, David. Gusto mo mag-read, David? Naka-raise
Akala
hand.
ko
Naka-raise lang.
Ha?
Sir, sige po.
Okay, go, David. Read
Sir, ako
nature
ba?
table.
Ay,
Ma'am,
si David,
Agnes,
sige
wag ka
po.
mag-alala. Susunod ka.
Sige sir, kahit wag na, charot. Sige sir.
Nature table. This is a table that contains objects or scenes related to the current seasons or upcoming festival or a symbol of an ecosystem. Children love to follow the natural changes that the world offers each month, and classroom decorations reflect this.
Okay. So yeah, okay? Most of the time, ganito pinapagawa ng elementary science teacher, ano? ng mga teachers. Nature table. Ngayon na iba na yan eh, hindi na nature table. Yung iba ang tinatawag na nila dyan is um, ano na ito? Yung, I'm quite not sure with the name, yung dish. Ano yung tawag dyan? Yung para, yung pot na didecoratean ninyo, mga landscape. Yung ganun na dish, o pinapagawa to ng high school, I just forgot the name. Okay? Parang garden dish ata yun. I'm quite not sure. Wait. Hindi ako makakapayag na hindi nyo siya naiintindihan.
Dish gardening.
Dish garden, sir.
Dish garden ba ang tawag doon?
Dish gardening po, sir.
Dish
Sir,
garden.
landscaping po siya.
Oo, yeah. Oo. 'Di ba? Yung dish garden. Ayan, yon dish garden pa tawag doon. Ayan. Ito siya, just for you to see. Let me show you a sample of dish garden. So, hindi tayo susunga-sunga. This one. Kikita nyo ba?
Hindi po.
Wait.
No po, sir.
naman, sir.
Sorry. Ayan. Ito. Wait lang.
Opo, ma'am. Okay, tama kayo po.
Tama ako. Ayan. Nakikita na ba?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
So that's what I'm referring to. Ito, dish garden. Diba?
Yes, sir. Ang lakas ng teacher namin makaganyan nun.
Exactly, 'di ba? Lalo na pag may evaluation. Yung tipong buong 2 linggo wala kang ibang ginawa kundi magganyan lang.
Lahat po ng cabinet may ganyan.
Yes,
Exhibit
exactly.
man.
Exactly. So these are the new ways on how we do things. Okay? So nature table. How do we do that? Is up to your teachers. Okay? Next is flip chart. Ito pinaka-effective to. Tsaka ito yung pinaka-gamit na gamit. Flip chart is it is a large tablet or pad of paper usually on a tripod or a stand. Okay? Yung tipong si teacher merong collection ng flip chart sa gilid ng classroom. 'Di ba? Pakuha nga yung lecture doon ng ganito, sabi ni teacher. So yun na yung gagamitin ni teacher whole year round.
Karamihan sa science major nun, sir.
Yeah, oo. Or kung hindi man yung mga Filipino. Okay? Ayan.
Hello, skeletal.
Yes. Ito yung sa skeletal sa body or systems of the human body. Pero yung madalas yung isa yung pad of paper, yung ang ginagamit diyan yung likod ng kalendaryo. Diba? Have you experienced that yung likod ng kalendaryo?
Sir, nagpapagawa pa sila ng ganun
Meron,
dun, sir.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, yung nakalagay sa kwan sa amin nun.
Yeah. Alam nyo bang nasubukan ko rin gamitin yan sa pagtuturo ko? Especially when I am having my practice teaching. Ganyan kami. Hindi pa uso nun talaga yung mga computer na sobra. Doon may computer naman nun, kaso nga lang syempre, dahil wala kaming laptop na pagpre-preparean ng PowerPoint, ay ganyan ang namin. Sulat-sulat, creativity.
Ang creative ni Sir noon.
Yes, oo. Ay, parang naabutan ako ni Roma.
Yes, sir. Practice teacher ka namin.
Aga talaga ba, Roma? Anong section mo
Yes,
nun?
sir. Kaya Garnet po nung 4th year.
Yeah! Oo.
Under
Yes.
Sir MJ de la Cruz po.
Oo, ayan. Si Roma ang magsasabi kung gaano ako kamaldita noon. Oo. Ayan. Yung tipong, yung isang instructional material ko, gamit ko yon sa 6 na section kong tinuruan. Tuturo ako ng ang lecture namin ay gymnastic. Ayan. So, gymnastic. Meron akong
Flexible yan.
Yeah, alam mo yan. Meron akong yung matigas na
Sir,
board.
nagmana sa'yo si Pearly.
Ay, hindi. Malamang. Malamang. Ayan. Yung matigas na cardboard, tapos nilagyan ko siya ng, pinoveran ko siya ng plastic cover. Tapos yung isang side open. So, ilalagay ko doon lahat yung cut-off cartolina ko na nakasulat doon. Parang alam niyo yung picture frame. So, ang gagawin ko lang, hihilain ko lang doon. Hinihila ko lang na gano'n. So, ganun siya. Maalala mo ba yun, Roma? Yung discussion ko na yon sa gymnastic.
Sir, no?
Hindi ka nakikinig, bahala ka. Ayan.
Hindi, sir. Naglalag kasi ako.
Oo.
Kaya
Yung tipong, right after may discussion, ang PE kasi sa City High noon, 2 hours. So, right after may
Yes, sir.
discussion, I'll have only 20 to 30 minutes discussion, and the rest of the time will be spent to practice. After ko magturo ng mga present ako, magde-demonstrate ako, tapos sila nagagawa. O, di ba? Ganun kabilis ang klase ko lagi. And kung ano-ano pang pinagawa ko sa kanila doon. Di ba, Roma? Now, let's
for leader pa
have...
nun.
Yes, may ano pa nun. Actually, ang dami nilang kabwisitan doon ng mga estudyante sila. Garnet.
Uy, mabait ako.
Roma, ano yung souvenir nyo sa akin nun?
Sir, hindi ko na matandaan.
Sinong kaklase mo, Roma?
Sila Chris Morales po.
Yeah, sila Chris.
Sila
Alam ko
Rose
na ang
Lee po.
souvenir nyo sa akin nun. Ang souvenir nyo sa akin nun ay tarpaulin. Yung tarpaulin na may mukha ako sa gitna. Tapos alam nyo kung ano nakasulat dun sa tarpaulin. Di ba, syempre ito yung tarpaulin. Ito yung picture ko pagkalaki-laki. Yung picture kong ginawa nila, yung nakanganga ako. As in, super nganga ako. Tapos ang daming picture sa gilid. Di ba?
Kasi ganun din si Sir MJ. Gusto niya yung naka-pout lip.
Oo. Tapos may nakasulat sa taas ng ulo ko, "We will miss you, Sir Petty." Ending na nagmukhang tarpaulin ng patay. Tapos may nagbigay naman sa akin ng damit ko noon, kulay violet. Tapos nakasulat din, "We will miss you." Tapos mukha ko uli. 'Di ba? Oo. Tapos may nagbigay sa akin ng picture frame. Puro pirma. Ay, eto pala yung guestbook pag namatay ako. Sabi ko nga, prepared na pala ang burol ko rito sa mga batang ito. Anyways, that's the fun of teaching in high school. That's the fun of teaching in high school. Children in high school or students in high school are very, very emotional. They're very showy, especially elementary. Now, suggestion of using flip chart: use wide tip pens or markers. Markers with narrow tips produce printing that is difficult to read. Okay, so yung wide, yung broad marker, yun ang gamit namin pag gumagawa kami ng flip chart. Kasi pag yung narrow, yung fine, maliliit masyado. Okay?
Sir, HBW na marker.
Ano
White
na?
yun. Sir, yung HBW na marker, white din.
Pentel pen broad kasi ang gamit namin noon. Ayan. Print in block letters that are large enough to be read easily from the back of the room. Remember, pag gagawa tayo ng instructional material, dapat yung bata na nasa likod, na sa pinakadulong upuan ng classroom, dapat nababasa niya yung material natin. Kasi kung hindi niya nababasa, walang silbi yung material natin. Next, use different color pens to provide contrast. This makes the page visually attractive and easier to read. Another is use headings, boxes, cartoons, and borders to improve the appearance of the page. Okay? Another is use bullets to delineate items on the page. So, suggestion on using flip chart: leave plenty of white space and avoid putting too much information on one page. Same with your PowerPoint. Alam nyo, madami sa inyo, most of you, congest your PowerPoint with too much information. Okay? Yung parang tipong 10 statement inilagay sa isang slide. So, parang kailangan mo pa ng magnifying glass para mabasa mo yung statement. So, avoid that. Okay? That's not effective. When pages are prepared in advance, use every other page. Okay? So, if every page is used Colors will show through and make text difficult to read. So, what does it mean? Ayan. Huwag niyong nagba-back to back. Sir, what does it mean back to back? Alam mo, pag yung gamit nyo manipis na kartulina, sa amin hindi kami gumagamit ng manipis na kartulina as much as possible as much as possible nung ako'y na nagpa-practice teaching at nung ako'y nagtuturo din ng high school. Kasi yung sulat sa harap, pag ginamit mo, pag nagsulat ka pa sa likod niya, nag-overlap na. So hindi na naiintindihan. Okay? So kung nagsulat ka sa isang side, sa kabilang side, huwag ka magsusulat. Okay? Have masking tape available to put pages up around the room during brainstorming and problem-solving activities. You know, all of us practice teachers have this.
Manila paper.
O si GR Robot. You know, nung estudyante kami, ito meron kami lagi nito. Ganito kakapal na, ayan. Ganito kakapal na, na packing tape. Lahat kami may ganito. May kanya-kanya kaming ganito. Tapos meron kaming, plastic envelope. Plastic envelope or plastic case. Tapos doon namin ilalagay yung mga, mga nagupit-gupit ng packing tape. Para kuha na lang kami ng kuha. Ganyan. Okay? Tapos, ang gagawin namin, hindi namin siya, di ba nakaganyan siya, hindi namin siya igaganon. Tapos gugupit-gupitin, no. Gagawin namin, kukuha kami ng isang malaking ganon, kakat namin, tapos saka namin ifo-fold ng ganon sa gitna. Yan. Tapos saka namin gugupit-gupitin. O, di ba? Ganon siya. So, hindi hassle siyang gawin. Sayang nga lang, wala tayo ngayon sa face-to-face pag gagawin ko sana kayo ng mga ganito. Okay? Pero, akala nyo may lusot kayo? Wala. Kasi gagawin nyo pa rin itong mga ito. Okay? Ayan. Next would be, to hide the portion of the page, fold up the lower portion of the page and tape it. When ready to reveal the information, remove the tape and let the page drop. Ayan. Yan yung mga PowerPoint effect namin nun. Okay? Kung ayaw mo pang makita yung ayan, dapat nakatago muna siya and then babagsak na lang siyang ganon. Ganon ang drama. One of my classmates when he had his demonstration teaching, you know, all he prepared is a box. Yung box sinigurado niya nakadikit sa board. And everything that he needs is inside the box. Okay? So, tinanggal niya yung takip nung harap, andun na yung title ng lesson. Kinuha niya yung box sa loob, tapos yung box na nasa loob, may tali na siyang, ball thread, ganyan. Tapos, ididikit niya lang sa side, andun na yung topic niya. Tapos, dun, naka-box din yun, ha? And then, after nung box na yon, meron pa sa loob ng box. So, mga ganong box ideas. Okay? So, I'm just giving you ideas because later on, I want you to do it. And then, have you tried the invisible ink? Nung high school kayo, na-try nyo ba yon? Hindi. Ang gamit namin nun, Jobos. The dye. Ang gagawin namin, yung Manila paper, syempre susulatan namin yon. Merong space doon, walang sulat. Pero actually, may sulat yon. So, yung Jobos, ilalagay namin sa loob ng spray, lalagyan namin ng tubig. So, pag okay, good morning classmates, kaya pag ganun ang labanan namin pag reporting. Dapat reporting pa lang, palaban na. Reporting pa lang, kala mo demonstration teaching, final demo na. Ganun ang labanan namin sa PNU. Okay? Kaya wala ka, pag nasa boarding house ka, alam mo isang bagay na maganda pag nasa yung nasa boarding house ka, tapos nag-share kayo ng mga ideas kung paano nyo paggaganda instructional material. Tapos, ang hindi mawawalang skill sa amin noon is letter cutting. Napakahilig namin sa letter cutting. Alam mo yung magle-letter cut ka ng letter A, letter B, letter C, ayan. Kasi yun yung header mo. Yun yung header mo. Hindi sinulat ni letter cut, tsaka mo idinikit. O, di ba? Pahirap sa buhay. So, going back to what I'm saying na invisible ink. Di ba sa PowerPoint, meron yung biglang nagre-reveal, shing, gumaganon. Ayan, title effect. May ganon din kami sa Manila paper. So, gagawin namin yung Jobos na dilute sa water. I-spray lang namin dun sa Manila paper. Lalabas na dun yung title. Yeah. Parang yung paraan ng pakikipagpalitan ng sulat ni Jose Rizal kay Leonor. Ayan. Alam nyo kung ano gamit namin? Kandila. Candle. Try nyo siya. Yung candle isulat nyo sa papel. Kahit basain nyo yan, hindi masusulatan yung papel, yung part na pinaglagyan ng candle. Okay? So yun yung effect nun. Dahil hindi masusulatan yon, magda-dark yung paligid niya, so makikita mo yung letter. Di ba? So ganun siya. So napasarap ako ng kwento. Memory box. So masyado matanda. Going back. Zigzag board. It is a multi-board series of 3 or 4 rectangular boards. They are joined together along the sides by hinges so that they can be easily folded up and carried. Each board can be of a different type, for example, a whiteboard, a chalkboard, and a flannel board, and so on. The size of the boards for the zigzag multi-board depends on what you want to use them for. Okay? So, as it was shown in the picture, in the slide, yan po yung zigzag board. Okay? Alam nyo, maganda itong zigzag board. If you're planning to have a walkthrough exhibit with your learners. Okay? Halimbawa, you want to show different stories. Ito maganda siya. Parang papasok sila sa museum. And then andun yung mga pictures, yung mga letters, ganyan. So ganyan yung pinipresent. Okay? Then we have board display or wall display. Ayan. Every year, kailangan naming tumulong kay teacher sa pagpapalit ng kanyang mga display sa kanyang board or bulletin board. Diba? Ayan. Ang sad nga lang kasi wala nga yung face-to-face. At this juncture, dapat yan ang competition ninyo. Oo. May bulletin board competition. So anyways, we can still do that sa kanya-kanya yung mga bahay. Yeah. So, rope and pole display board. This board consists of 2 parallel horizontal poles tied loosely together with rope. Visual aids, such as poster, can be pinned to the rope. This kind of display board is invaluable where there are few solid walls for displaying information. It has no solid backing and can be made quickly for teaching, training, and when working with communities. Pag halimbawa, dun sa pupuntahan mong school ay walang blackboard, walang eto ang magandang gamitin. You have the rope or pole display board. Ayan. Parang lalo na maglagay ka ng tali na gano'n tapos ipin mo yung mga pictures, kanyan. Ang enjoy nun. Okay? Next, we have guidelines when designing conventional instructional materials. First, it should have unity. Use only one idea for each visual aid, include a headline. Meaning, kung halimbawa ang gagamitin mong motif ngayon or theme ngayon ay si Barney, Barney lang. Huwag mong hahaluan si Barney ng Sesame Street, huwag mo siyang hahaluan ng Naruto, okay? Kung Naruto, Naruto lang. Okay? Kung Hello Kitty, Hello Kitty lang. 'Di ba? Ayan. Next, simplicity. Simplicity makes ideas and relationships simply and easy to recall. Okay? Mamaya kasi, ay hindi kailangan maganda. Sabi ni Sir Petty, kailangan maganda. It doesn't mean na sobrang ganda nga, ang dami mong dinecorate, hindi na naintindihan yung gusto mong ipalabas. Diba? Ang dami-dami ng distraction. Okay lang yung tipong one side, eto lang yung makikita. Okay? Later on, hanapin ko yung requirements ko nung college ako. Ang design ko doon ay piggy. Ayan. Next is legibility. Make letterings big and readable for all the audience. Meaning, dapat nababasa. Okay? Paulit-ulit to, kanina pa natin sinasabi, no? Everything that we write should be readable. And then another is consistency. Use the same type, style, and art style. That's consistency. And then, of course, we have clarity. Avoid type that is too small to read And avoid all caps. Mamaya galit na galit ka naman dun sa instructional material mo, puro na lang all caps siya. Di ba? So, dapat there are variation. And at the same time, it should have a clarity and consistency. Hindi pwedeng halimbawa sa first instructional material mo, dugtong ka. Sa pangalawa, hindi ka dugtong or hindi ka, how should I, what the English of that one?
Cursive po.
Cursive writing. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Ayan. Sa first page, cursive ka, tapos sa second page, hindi cursive. So, hindi pwedeng ganun. Dapat consistent. So, digital tools or non-conventional support for teaching and learning. In today's environment, educators and students are working remotely. These resources will help to communicate effectively even when you're not together in person. That's why, um, when you go to a demonstration, meaning after this third year, fourth year na kayo, magde-demonstration teaching na kayo. So, when you prepare your demonstration teaching, your instructional materials, you should be prepared. You should be prepared to have digital and non-digital tools. Para kung halimbawa walang kuryente, hindi mo sabihin, ala po ma'am, wala pong kuryente, pwede po ba akong risked? So, dapat prepared tayo lagi. So, now let's go with digital tools or non-conventional support for teaching and learning. Example is mobile phones and QR codes. So, what is a QR code? QR code stands for quick response because they can be read quickly by a cell phone. So, it usually gives a URL linking you to a website or immediately provides the salient information about the product. So, most of the time right now, yan ang trend ngayon. Diba? QR code. Pagpunta ka sa mall, scan mo lang QR code, you may now fill out the health declaration. Okay? Yung sa mga forms ngayon, kailangan na ng QR code, di ba? Minsan yun na yung yun na yung seal and authentication process natin. How to make a QR code? Of course, you can do it online. Online po ito. Search for a QR code generator, qrstuff.com, go QRme, ayan. These are just example or some of the QR code generator. And then encode the text of information that you want, run it and save it as a JPEG file, and then test the QR code using your QR code reader or scanner. Sino rito ang may QR code reader or scanner sa kanilang cellphone? Meron ba?
Sir, dun sa camera mismo, sir, pwede.
Sir, ako po, sir, dinownload ko lang po yun, sir, syempre sa mga connection ng Wi-Fi, ganun po.
Yes, okay. Next would be infographic. An infographic is a visual representation or an image such as a diagram, chart, or a picture representing information or data. It is eye-catching and makes use of a clear layout, attractive colors and use, and caricatures that provide a cohesive presentation of the information. So one tool that can be used in creating infographics is Canva. Sino rito ang wala pang Canva sa kanyang cellphone? Meron ba? Si Sedi walang Canva.
Ako din po, sir, wala po.
Pero inaaral ko na, sir, yung Canva.
Yeah.
Pero dinadownload ko po kapag kailangan.
Oo. Kasi kailanganin nyo yan. Papagawa ko sa inyo yan. Okay, so using infographics to present survey data, to simplify a complex concept, to explain how something functions, to compare and to draw comparisons with the same information neatly organized, and to present interesting facts. Another is e-portfolio as a tool. These are effective learning tools because they support students' own knowledge. So, it construct, make otherwise invisible aspect of the learning process visible, and place agency in the hands of students, which fosters learners' motivation. It is collection of electronic evidence assembled and managed by a user, usually on the web. So, you're familiar with portfolio, right? Portfolio is a collection of tool. You know, when I was in high school, meron kaming ganyan, portfolio. Lalo na sa subject
Lagi
naming
po.
math. Sa mathematics, ay Diyos ko, lahat ng ano namin, yung theorems, postulate, yung parallel, yung ah, perpendicular lines, kaya so lahat ng activity namin nandun sa portfolio namin. Every quarter, chine-check yan ng teacher namin. So now, ang difference lang is na hindi na siya yung print. Everything is electronically prepared. So other examples of digital tools or non-conventional support for teaching and learning is we have slide projector or LCD. Okay? A slide projector is an optomechanical device for showing photographic slides. Another is television. So you're very familiar with television, suited for educational purposes, and has become a popular teaching learning tools in homes, schools, business, and healthcare settings. Ngayon, pag ano, ganyan ang ginagamit, pero minsan, projector na. Okay? Ngayon, ang pinakabago na dyan, LED wall. Diba? Now, next is video conferencing. Or teleconferencing is the synchronous two-way connection of two or more locations through audio and videos equipment. So, you're familiar with video conferencing. This is a video conferencing actually. Computer, MacBook, laptops, ayan. These are some of the devices that we use. Okay? So guidelines in the development and use of the non-conventional or digital tools for teaching and learning. So these guidelines are designed to provide schools with a process and a set of questions to consider when identifying which domains and standards within the DL framework. Okay? So in engaging with this cycle, a school will be able to review their daily learning practices and creates a daily learning plan that outlines their current use of digital technologies and how they plan to improve their practices into the future. The reason why we have lesson planning, it's simply because it's part of the planning, no? Aside from that, your lesson plan also includes information about the instructional materials you will use and when and how you will use it inside the class. So this is the digital learning planning cycle. So first, let's start with identify focus. Meaning, anong gusto nating gawin? Ano yung ituturo natin? Followed by, we have to gather evidence to support our claim. And then we have to analyze and make judgment if these focus are really indeed the specific focus that we need to do or that we want. And then after that, we have to write na and share report and improvement plan. And input improvement plan into action. And then of course, we have to monitor actions or to implement it and then evaluate the impact. So that's the digital learning planning cycle. We have selection and use of tools and apps in teaching and learning. Okay? So the current system employs technologies by integrating ICT tools and applications in education and in instruction. There are various tools and devices or gadgets used in communicating, disseminating, creating, storing, and managing information. Nowadays, 'di ba, ang dami-dami na nating applications, right? May video application, may recording application, may photo application, yung tipong nagpicture ka, laki-laki na mukha mo, pagkatapos mo mapicturean, ang nipis-nipis mo na parang Korean naman na yung mukha mo. 'Di ba? Ano to? Transform? 'Di ba? Autobots, transform! Sabing gano'n. O, 'di ba? Next is materials that can be used to integrate ICT into teaching and learning. So what are those? One, PowerPoint. Ayan, marami sa atin gumagamit ng PowerPoint. Later, tingnan natin kung paano pa natin may upgrade ang paggamit natin ng PowerPoint. Next is digital stories or digital storytelling. It is a short form of digital media production that allows everyday people to share aspects of their story. Okay, later on pagagawin ko rin kayo ng ng digital storytelling. Okay? Yung digital storybook. And then of course, interactive quizzes like quizzes, ayan, and other interactive quizzes interactive quizzes application na pwede nating gamitin. Okay, para tipong meron kami bili pwedeng educational talaga siya or pwedeng game or fun, ayan. Videos, of course, the recording, reproducing, or broadcasting of moving visual images. Kaya nga, pag kayo nagvi-video, hindi pwede nating i-video kung sino-sino. Kasi we don't have the right to take their video. So, ganun siya ka-arte. Okay? And then, of course, we have audio stories, simulation, so, digital puzzle, online games, and vlogs. Okay. Computer tools for teaching and learning. We have two. We have software and hardware. Hardware refers to the physical parts of computer and related devices, and software refers to the programs and other operating information used by a computer. So dahil sa connected tayo sa mga tools na ito, so it's very important for us to make sure na familiar tayo dito. Okay? Are there any questions or clarifications? None? If there are none, then let's have a 15-minute break. Sedi, I think ikaw ang co-host ngayon. Pa-accept yung mga classmates niyong nasa waiting room. Salamat.
Sige po, sir.
Flexible learning environment.
Okay, so for the flexible learning environment, we're done with the digital and non-digital tools, which is generally a discussion and presentation of the concept between a digital and a non-digital tool. So, the non-digital tools are the traditional way, or the non-traditional tools is or are the traditional ways on how to do an instructional materials. Okay? So part of your activity later on that discussion is that you're gonna do a diorama, you're gonna do a lot of things in related to that discussion. And same with this one. Unit 4 is all about flexible learning environment. What we are having right now is a flexible learning environment. So flexible learning environment is distance learning is a form of learning without a face-to-face contact with the teacher and delivered via telecommunications. In the past, this involved correspondence course wherein the students correspond with the teacher via mail. So, before, a flexible learning environment goes with si teacher nagpapadala ng mga cassette tape, si teacher nagpapadala ng sulat, okay? Same vice versa sa mga estudyante rin. Now, with the advent of newer technology, distance learning is delivered via computer-based media, thus called online learning or e-learning. This made classrooms borderless and learning boundless. Okay? This was enhanced by the emergence of Web 2.0 tools which made collaborative learning easier. So, online distance education and communities of learners. So, what does it mean, and what are the contribution of this idea into our present educational system? Learning nowadays is viewed differently. The present generation of learners has access to information at their fingertips. Diba? Imagine everything can be found and everything can be accessed via our fingertips. So, the teacher is no longer seen as basically the dispenser of knowledge, but rather as one who expertly direct learners to take their own track in searching for answers to questions raised inside the classroom. So since there are a lot of things that we do before, like we imagine teacher as the sage on the stage, meaning lahat ng impormasyon galing lang kay teacher. Okay? So teacher is the sole source of information. But nowadays, gone are the days that we have that kind of notion. Ngayon, mga estudyante, they don't see teacher as a sole information, a source of information. Rather that sila na yung nag-aano sa atin paano natin makuha yung mga information on our own. Okay? Nowadays nga, mas advanced pa ang mga bata kaysa sa mga teacher when it comes to gadgets and technology. Okay, so, since technology is there to stay at wala tayong magagawa, what the teacher needs to do is to make sure na hindi tayo nahuhuli. Meaning, we are familiar with all the trends that's happening right now in our educational system. Because whether we like it or not, pag hindi natin ginusto, may iwanan tayo ng technology. So, online distance education and communities of learners believes that every chance or corner becomes a learning space. It is clear that learning takes place anywhere, and this adds to the concept of flexibility in the learning environment. With technology, students can possibly continue to join class sessions even if they are not physically around. So the learning space becomes virtual or mediated. The library is not only a physical structure where they can read, publish books, but has also become virtual. Dati, ang nag-o-offer lang ng ganito ay AMA, STI. If you have watched the commercial before of AMA and STI, yung TV commercial nila na may mga artista na hindi na kailangan pumapasok ng school, they just go with on a flexible learning. Okay, or online distance education. So ito 'yon. So online distance learning is not a new concept. It's not a new concept indeed. Some schools, higher education institutions in the country, and educational agencies, such as the Southeast Asian Minister of Education Innovations in Educational Technology, or SIAMYO Inotech, provide mode of learning. It allows flexibility in learning to a certain extent. Before, this is what we call ODL. Okay? Online distance learning. Okay? Online distance learning, he is already here even before we have known it. Okay? Meaning, bago pa nagkaroon ng pandemic at nag-shift tayo sa o sa online learning, meron na talaga ito. We're not just using it because we're used to using the traditional way of teaching. The traditional way which is face-to-face. Okay? But since the onset of pandemic, we are all forced and required to shift from our comfort zone to online distance learning. So online distance learning is a flexible mode of learning used the platforms such as Moodle, Google Classroom, Edmodo, Schoology. These are free programs designed for educational purposes, and it has features that are patterned after the instructional activities of a teacher in a physical classroom. When you use these, you can actually hold a lesson, post questions for discussion, and hold an online chat discussion, give assessment activities, and provide references or links to other online materials. Okay? As easy as that. Now, Moodle was created by Martin Dorgiamas, founder and CEO of Moodle, stands for Modular Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment, which is an open source software. It is a learning management system that supports teaching and learning. Okay. So this is an example of the interface of a Moodle. Okay? So yan po siya. You know, using Moodle, you can create your own classroom. You can create your own learning classroom or learning management system. Later on, I'll gonna present to you a sample of Moodle, which I have prepared already. Actually, I'm in the process of developing a website, a learning management system of my own. So Google Classroom is a free service for teachers and students. It is an LMS platform that is accessible Google account. You can create and perform your roles and function as a facilitator of learning. So ayan po ang Google Classroom. This is an example of a Google Classroom. So I have there, EDUC 102. You're familiar with this because meron tayong Google Classroom. So in 2008, Edmodo was created by Nick Borch, F. O'Hara, and Crystal Hutter. So compared Edmodo and Google Classroom, despite of its commonalities, there are apparently differences, but with technology. Things evolve in so short a time. That is why what is clear is that they were created as apps that can integrate well with classroom activities. The decision lies in the teacher who will determine what works best in his or her teaching and learning context. Both are amazing tools that can be explored. Compare Edmodo and Google Classroom right now. Edmodo becomes more interactive. Kasi yung Edmodo para na rin siyang Facebook. Okay? So this is an example of the interface of Edmodo. Ayan siya. So, para na siya talagang Facebook account. Later on, I'll show you a sample of it. So, Schoology is another LMS founded in 2009 by Jeremy Friedman, Ryan Wang, Tim Trinidad, and Bill Kinder. You can create your own online distance education learning system using any of these platforms. These are all MOOCs, or another recent modality to learning is the Massive Open Online Course. It is a model for delivering learning content online to any person who wants to take a course. It allows one to pursue learning even outside of university or higher education formal structure. So this is an example of Schoology. So what is an MOOC? Have you started your course path in Microsoft Education Center?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
That's good sa mga iba. Sa iba na hindi, good luck sa inyo. Deadline is near. Okay? That is a 20 hours MOOC activity wherein you need to collect badges. Okay? Isa pa lang yon, 20 hours na. Meron pang isa. Okay? So, MOOCs, another recent modality to learning is the massive open online course. It is a model for delivering learning content online to any person who wants to take a course. It allows one to pursue learning even outside of university or higher education formal structure. So, example of MOOC. Later on, I will show also a sample of MOOC wherein I am enrolled. Aside from Microsoft Education Center na kayo'y enrolled ngayon. So, EDUCOS is a non-profit association with the mission is to advance higher education through the use of information technology. So, this is an example of EDUCOS. Of the EDUCOS. Now, you're all familiar with synchronous and asynchronous learning. Remember that the institution, Northeastern College, offers pure asynchronous learning. Okay? Actually, ang mode of learning natin is asynchronous learning. Okay? It's just that your teacher in the College of Education and some of the teachers in various colleges also make sure that we'll have synchronous session kasi meron mga learners na hindi kaya nilang sila lang. So they need guidance. So we provide synchronous session. So synchronous learning is a real-time discussion in the internet or using the platform of internet. Okay? What we're having right now is what we call synchronous session. What we are having right now in the Facebook Live is also synchronous session kasi nagpa-participate sila real time. Okay? Pero pag binasa at pinanood nyo na ito later on, ang tawag na natin doon ay asynchronous learning. Okay? So, synchronous learning includes live webinars, instant messaging, video conferencing, and virtual classrooms. While asynchronous learning refers to email, blogs, pre-recorded video, lessons, webinars, online discussion board, and learning management system. So, synchronous, ayan na, nasabi natin, real-time, no? It Course participants meet in a virtual classroom and discuss a topic in the lesson. So, wherever they are situated in the world, they agree on a scheduled session and log in to join the live class. So right now I have 69 plus 28 in the Zoom. More or less I only have 100, more or less 100 student. Tama ba no? 68 plus 28, that would be 16, 96. Tama ba ako? Yeah. I only have 96 students out of 150 students. Okay? So marami talagang madadrop sa subject na ito. Okay. A synchronous session when questions or tasks are posted and course participants answer the questions or post their reply at any time. Most convenient to them. They can still participate in the discussion by replying to the post. One advantage is that you can take your time when replying. Halimbawa, parang ako, 'di ba, may nag-chat sa akin, pero dahil nag-chat sa perfecto, hindi ko pinansin. Doon nag-chat sa 30, tsaka ako nag-message. Okay. Now, blended learning. When we're talking about blended learning, it is a combination of learning activities wherein a part of a lesson is delivered online while the other part is handled in actual physical setting of a classroom. Okay?
Okay.
Meaning, an example of blended learning is that when a teacher discusses online or provide lesson or activities online and then nagtuturo pa rin sa classroom. Okay? So, yun yung blended learning. Combination of asynchronous and synchronous session also. Okay? Also called hybrid learning and mixed mode learning. Okay? Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of blended learning? So, advantages is that larger groups and fun. Okay, syempre, pag blended learning, it is accessible to a wider population. Engagement and motivation by providing a wide range of experiences and learning materials. It also set your own pace, so you have the power to create your own learning path and learn in formats that works the best for you. It reduce cost and less travel, lalo na kung yung mga estudyante galing sa malalayong lugar. So, bahay lang, okay na. The disadvantage is that it lacks motivation. Okay? Lack of face-to-face communication. Marami kasing estudyante mas mahilig at mas gusto nila may nakikitang tao. Rather than ganito lang. Kasi nasa loob sila ng bahay, napag-uutusan ng mga gawain, di ba? Basic technology knowledge, limitation to access and knowledge in using technology, fast pace of technological trend. Another disadvantage is that it's more prone to plagiarism and credibility problem. Sharing of ideas and false knowledges needs more time in preparation and study of the technological use. So, kinds of blended learning. What are the different kinds of blended learning? One, we have the face-to-face driver. Closest to a typical school structure, the teacher delivers the curricula most of the time and utilizes online learning for activities. Then the rotation, we have students rotates in a fixed schedule between learning online into one-to-one. And then station rotation, it's a student goes from station to station within a classroom or group of classroom as they learn a subject. Stations involve different types of activities such as small group activities and at least one online learning station. Next, we have lab rotation. Wait lang. Yeah. A student may have similar experience to station rotation, except that they are likely to navigate across a campus to different environment, rather staying in one setting as they rotate. Okay. Next, we have flipped classroom. Flips traditional teaching methods, the instruction is delivered online outside the classroom or outside of classroom. So nag-flip tayo from traditional teaching and then instructions delivered online. So sige ngayon magklase tayo, bukas mag-ano tayo, mag-online class tayo. Ganun yung flip classroom. And then of course we have individual rotation. These models allows students to rotate through stations but on individual schedules set by a teacher or software algorithm. Unlike other rotation models, students do not necessarily rotate to every station. They rotate only to the activities scheduled on their playlist. Okay. So, Flex use online platforms that deliver most of the course. Online learning is the backbone of student learning. Online lab uses an online platform in delivering the course located in a physical classroom or computer laboratory. Students who are enrolled in an online lab model may be enrolled in traditional classroom courses at the same time. So self-blend and online driver. Okay. Online communities of learning, social networking. In teaching and learning situation, you work on information, data, and collaborate with classmates, friends, teachers, and other members of society. Now, let's proceed with various social networking platforms that maybe some of you are already familiar. One, of course, you're familiar with Facebook, di ba? Most popular social media network. And now we're also using Facebook also as a learning management system. Twitter, sites where users post and interact with messages called tweets with 140 characters only. Okay, I have Twitter. Later on, I'll ask you to follow me. LinkedIn, help oneself to search career connections. Also, later on, I'll ask you to create your LinkedIn because if you are asking and looking for professional connections, okay, professional linkages, LinkedIn is the best social media site you can connect with other people. Kasi most of professionals are in LinkedIn. Okay? And then, of course, Google Plus. YouTube, based in San Bruno, California. The service was created in February 2005. And American video sharing websites where users can upload, view, and even share video clips and multimedia products. Dati ano lang ang YouTube, hindi naman siya ganun kaganda ngayon. Dati hindi siya kasing ganda noon tulad ngayon. Okay? And then in Pinterest and of course Instagram, share visual stories platforms for photography. Instagram is actually um collection of ay ano lang, sharing of photos kaya nga puro picture yung nandoon. Di ba? Ngayon parang Facebook na rin ng Instagram. Next, of course, Tumblr combines social media and blogging. MySpace, platform for music preferences. Flickr, image and video hosting platform. And of course, Bibo, blog early, blog often. Next, we have benefits and dangers in using social networking sites. So, meron talagang ganito, hindi mawawala yung benefits and dangers. So, one, using social network sites open an array of opportunities for users. It also erase the space and distance between peoples. Okay, kahit nasa Visayas ka, nasa Luzon ka, or nasa Canada ka, okay, you can communicate with people. Awareness to the world events, and then social networking can support improve learning. It can also augment educational activities. Advantages, it increases student collaboration, it increases students' participation, it provides an easier way to review team projects. Later on, you'll have it in Google, okay, the Google Sharing Docs, kasi pwede kayo mag-edit doon on time, real time. Halimbawa, habang si Sedi, sabi natin, o Sedi, ikaw dun sa page 2, gawin mo to, habang ako naman sa page 1. So, ganun na nangyayari doon. And then, video conferencing abilities and rich e-learning media available. And we also have digital literacy. So, dangers. One that can publicize negative false information. That's why you need to be very careful when you post something in Facebook or in any other social media sites. Napaka-importante. Bakit? Kasi pwede po kayong kasuhan. Okay? There are legal liabilities, especially lahat tayo matatanda na. We're on legal age now. Exposed to dangerous people such as predators, stalkers, pedophile, drug syndicates, and cyberbully. Ay maraming nasa-cyberbully dito. Marami rin, isa sa mga criminal acts when it comes to this one are what we call identity theft. Kaya as much as possible, avoid providing too much information in your social media sites. For example, nagkaroon ka lang ng ID, pinost mo, pati ID number nandun. Diba? Binigyan ka ng certificate, pirma ng mga officials, hindi mo binura. O di syempre, meron na sila, ito pala yung pirma ng head ng school na yon. Magaya nga. Di ba? So those are what we call etiquettes, okay, in posting things. We need also to protect other people, okay, even if it's just our post. For example, minsan kasi nagpicture tayo, tapos may mga taong nakuha, okay, hindi rin kasi pwede siya basta-basta, okay, kahit sabihin natin, oh, it's my own picture. There are some instances na some people doesn't want to be posted, okay. That's why we need to ask permission if they allow us to post it. Okay? People can instigate conflict, destroy your or their personality that can affect one's emotion and self-esteem. Um, Maraming nangyayari ngayon na ganito, no? Na because of our posting, our learners are affected. Okay? So be careful with your posts. So people tend to neglect the real world. Ayan, medyo yung mga tao na hindi na nila naaalis yung difference between real world and the virtual world. Okay? So yun yun. It can cause a negative invitation into an excessive time spending on games or other social media activities. That can cause negatively to one's education. Are we clear? Nasusundan, people?
Opo.
So, safeguarding oneself in use of social networking site. What are the ways? We can secure password and keep them private. So, yung password natin, pwedeng 16 characters. Di ba? Ah, ang ganda ko underscore 88 asterisk 55. Okay? So, ganun. Ganun ka-extreme yung password. May mga special characters. Personalize your privacy settings so that you can filter those you wanted to see your post. So, sabi ko nga, pag ayaw mo makita ng ibang tao, di i-personalize mo. Aside from that is that when you save your password, make sure na yung password yun nakasave lang sa personal laptop, sa cellphone ninyo, as much as possible. Don't use public computers or public use computers in saving your password because they might hack or some people might use it. Okay? Or you forgot to log out, ayan, so nagamit na ng ibang tao, di ba? Online posts is safe and may become a permanent part of their online reputation. That's why we always reiterate that be careful and be mindful of whatever you're posting because once you click it, you will never remove it. Okay? So kaya nga think before you click. You may delete it but it will leave internet footprint or web print. Okay? So ma-remove mo man siya, nakasira ka na ng tao. As you use internet, you leave a digital footprint which can be tracked back to you or traced back to you, I should say. So, ayan ha, be careful. Kaya hindi lahat ng sama ng loob, hindi lahat ng away pamilya ipinopost sa Facebook. Okay? O, hindi ka nila matutulungan. Not unless kung gusto mo ipaawa effect, edi sige. Pero kung kailangan mo ng solution, don't post it. Walang makakasagot sa iyo dyan. You go directly to the people concerned. Kaya yung tulfo-tulfo na yan, my God, I don't agree with tulfo-tulfo. Kasi nilalagay ni Tulfo yung batas sa kamay niya. Why? By being vindictive and being public executioner to the people. Okay? Which it doesn't provide due process. Okay? So nawawala yung essence ng due process. In some instances, pwede kung halimbawa ang kaaway natin gobyerno. Hindi ka pinapakinggan ng gobyerno. Okay? Because the government should protect us. But if the government cannot protect us, who will protect us? Ayan. So we can expose them.
Nag-file na po siya ng senatorial seal.
Si Tulfo,
Yes, sir.
iboboto nyo.
Hindi po.
Oo.
Sir, hindi. Kasi
No.
parang nagiging siya na yung justice system ng Philippines. For
Exactly.
example,
Tapos
sir, meron
magiging
ng mga kaso
Nagpaalam na
sa
sila
kanya
sa
natatakbo.
TV5.
Imbes na may
Diba
due
nagpaalam
process
na
na
sila sa
kailangang
TV5?
sundan, sir.
yes, and magiging tuta lang yan. Yeah, sorry, even if it's in public, though it's private group naman. I
Independent
am
po.
I am forbidding you to post this. Ayan. Pag pinost to, that is against my privacy. Charot. Ayan. Anyways, hindi ba nga, imagine yung ginagawa ngayon. Imagine kinatalo niya yung teacher before if you're familiar with that case.
Ay, yung ano sir, yung teacher na parang dinisiplina niya yung bata.
Oo, tapos
Yung pinalabas niya sir.
Oo. Tapos ang dating, masama yung teacher. Yun the point. Alam nyo, magalit ang teacher, galit ang publiko, galit ang mga tao. Hindi magalit ang teacher, hindi ginagawa ng teacher ang trabaho. Saan tayo lulugar?
Sir, parang doon nga nasira yung teacher, yung image ng isang teacher dahil sa issue na yun, sir.
Na hindi pinakinggan kung anong nangyari.
Yes po.
Yes, sir.
That's true. Okay. So, yeah, if you're planning to vote for this kind of people, mga kapatid, mag-isip-isip kayo O mag-isip-isip kayo. Napakahirap. Okay, napakahirap na napakahirap na gano'n, okay? Reject invites from contacts if you do not know or familiar of their identity. So if you are not familiar with their identity, reject invites, okay?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, pwede po umihi. Saglit.
Pwede naman anak, hindi mo na kailangang ipaalam. Oo. Sige lang, go lang. Huwag ka nang papaalam sa susunod. Go ka lang. Okay? Now, safeguarding oneself in the use of social networking sites. Think before clicking. Be considerate and be discerning. Always have positive intention when posting. Yan sinasabi natin. Huwag kayong post ng kung ano-ano. Nakita nyo lang walang pasok, pinost nyo agad. Ang sabi, sa Calabarzon. Hindi naman tayo Calabarzon, Luzon tayo. Isabela tayo. 'Di ba? Santiago City. Nakakita lang, walang pasok. 1 week. Ay, post nga nito. Sir, sabi dito, wala daw tayong pasok. Anak, saan yung post na yan? Sir, sa Facebook, sa Manila Bulletin. Anong lugar yan? Sir, Visayas. Anak, Visayas ba tayo? Ha? Doon alam niyo, minsan ang sarap sabihin, anak, bobo ka ba? Tanga ka siguro, Basahin mo nga saan yan. Ganon. Okay? So, be mindful on what you are posting, ha? Oo. Be mindful. Kasi, may post tayo ng post, mali-mali naman. Okay? So, napakaraming kumakalat ngayon ng mga misleading facts. Napakaraming kumakalat ngayon ng misleading facts. Remember, the things that we have right now are generally based on history. Okay? These are based on history. And whether we like it or not, I do confirm and I do affirm that there are what we call biases in history. There are some biases in history. But it doesn't mean that it is not totally true. Okay? Especially if a bigger population confirms it. Right now, marami anong class? Marami ang nagbibigay ng mga misleading information, okay? So tulad ng golden years daw ang martial law, okay? It's not. It's not golden years. Let's put it into utang na lang. Oh. Sabihin nila, huwag kang gumamit ng ganito o huwag kang gagamit ng ganyan kung ayaw mo sa ganito. Bakit binabayaran ng tax ko? Bakit yung tax ko napupunta pa rin sa pambayad utang? You cannot say na huwag gagamit. Tax paid yan eh. Hindi naman nila pera yan. Pera ng bayan yan. Sila lang nagpagawa kasi responsibilidad nilang siguraduhin ang development ng bayan. Pero, hindi ko sinasabi na walang mga corrupt. Maraming corrupt na official. Pero yung sa kanila, grabe. Okay. Oh. Let's put it like that na lang. Wag na lang yung ano. Wait lang ah. Yun siya, 'di ba? Oh. Ganun po siya. Napanood niyo ba yung ano trending ngayon sa TikTok? Yeah. Ayan. Yung sabi nila na sinisiraan, ang daming facts, ang daming sites. So, alam ko diyan merong mga supporters pero pasintabi po, pero ang katotohanan hindi po natin mapapalitan. Okay? Masakit mang tanggapin yung katotohanan, talagang ganun. Katotohanan 'yan eh. Parang halimbawa sa relasyon, 'di ba? Para malaman mo na totoong hindi magiging kayo, isulat mo sa malapad na kahoy, tsaka mo ihampas sa mukha niya o sa katawan niya para damang-dama mo yung palo, 'di ba? Ganon. Okay. So wag syunga-syunga, okay? Wag syunga-syunga, wag ano, pa-victim trend. Ayan. Okay? So yun lang, 'di ba? Nangangampanya ako, yes. Using appropriate language is important. The tone when communicating or sending social networking message should be respectful. Yung sinasabi ko. If you have read the discussion forum guide, have you read the discussion forum guide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The discussion forum guides provides you idea on how to be respectful in your post. Pwede kang maging discerning, pwede kang maging critical na magtanong, pero hindi nang iinsulto. Okay? Hindi yung nagtatanong ka tapos feeling mo bobo yung kausap mo, wag ganon. Okay? Because we all have our own perspective. Maalala ko lang. Yan pala. I read a Facebook thread. Okay? Ito kakilala ko, dalawang kakilala ko. Yung isa ay law student, yung isa ay pareho silang teacher, pero yung isa nagte-take ng law, tapos yung isa teacher lang na. Nag-uusap sila, tapos parang tipong yung isa kino-condemn niya yung isa. Ang pinag-usapan nila martial law. Kino-condemn nung isa, teacher A and teacher B. Si teacher A, syempre ito yung law student, nag-post siya regarding the facts of information about martial law na hindi nga maganda yung nangyari ng martial law. Here comes naman si teacher B. Kino-condemn niya yung post ni teacher A. Yung post ni teacher A sa wall niya. So, ibig sabihin, it is right, diba, na mag-post lang. Syempre, nag-post ka, nag-comment ka. Tinatanong mo, kine-question mo, hindi ka naman niya inaan. Hanggang sa ending, nag-usap sila. Tapos sabi ni teacher A, sis, ito yung mga source ko. Okay? Ito yung mga source ko, information kung saan mo mababasa. These are legit source. Saan mo ba nababasa yung mga post? Saan mo nababasa yung information mo? Sis, sa Facebook. Sa YouTube. My God. Manginingin ako mag-post doon. Ate, ang tanga mo talaga. Gaganunin ko sana. At syempre, dahil sila nag-aaway, di bahala na sila mag-away, di ba? What I'm trying to point out is that we can be discerning. We can be critical with our comments, with our opinions on others' posts, but nevertheless, post nila yun eh. That is their right. Diba? Yes, Rodaline, you raise your arm.
Sir, share ko lang po parang yung nangyari kay Manny Pacquiao sa kay Karen Davila. Kung napanood nyo po yun na tinanong ni Karen Davila si Manny Pacquiao kung required daw ba ang tumakbo ay yung pagiging president, required daw ba ang college degree?
Yeah.
Parang ganun. Di ba, sir? Parang napahiya si Manny Pacquiao doon kasi ang sagot niya para sa akin kasi ganito, ganyan. Tapos, nag-aaral ka ba? Sabi ni Karen Davila. Oo, nag-aaral ako, parang gano'n sir. Tapos parang inuulit-ulit niya na required ba ang college degree. Parang napapahiya na po si Pacquiao nung part na
Aya.
yun eh.
Oo naman, totoo naman 'yun. However, as a public official, we have to be ready with this kind of question. Kasi talaga, alam mo, pag ikaw ay isang public official, huhubaran ka talaga ng lipunan. Kasi public official ka eh. So you are intended to serve the people. But I do believe that there is a proper way on ask question. But sometimes, um, the point would be, oo nga naman, bakit po kailangan tanungin? According to the Constitution, the Philippine Constitution, the only requirement for a public, let's say for an elected official is the ability to read and write. Pag marunong kang magsulat, marunong kang magbasa, pwede kang tumakbo bilang opisyal ng bayan. Okay? That's a good thing. Hindi siya discriminative. Oo naman yon. Pero, para sa mga tao, tayo dapat ang critical. Karen Davilis is providing an avenue for us to critically think whether is he or are they really are they or do they really deserve, I should say, do they really deserve to run in the office? Like for example, sa atin, para makapag-public school teacher 1 ka, kailangan licensed professional teacher ka. Kailangan pasado ka or dapat ang ranking mo ay 70% pataas. Dapat ganun kataas yung standard mo. At dapat meron kang college degree para maging teacher ka. 'Di ba? Ang taas-taas ng requirements sa atin, pero ang salary grade natin ay salary grade 11 or 21. Mga halagang 23,000 lang per month. Teacher 1 yan. You see my point? Tapos sila, magiging public official, salary grade, nagkakahalaga ng 237 per month, tapos tayo, ang baba natin. Pero sila, wala silang college degree. Is it unfair or not?
Unfair, sir.
Do they
Kasi,
deserve to serve us?
no, sir. Kasi sabi po nung pumunta po tumakbo po si Mayor Defensor, sir, yung debate po nila. Sabi po kasi niya, we have qualifications sa mga senators and president. Isa po sa nagrema sa akin is yung excellence awardee siya. May puso po siya sa pagserbisyo and yung may takot po sa Diyos. Yun po yung mga qualifications niya kung hindi po ako nagkakamali,
It's
sir.
Miriam
And
Defensor.
yes, sir. Yun po yung so kapag boboto po tayo ng presidente or mga government officials, siguraduhin natin yung mga qualifications is na-achieve nila in order for us na makatulong talaga in shaping the nation building, sir.
Yes. But generally, the trend would be yun nga. Kailangan at least nakatapos, no? Pero sabi nga, hindi lang basta nakatapos. Totoo yan. Dapat may puso. Okay? In Korea, pag yung isang candidate tumatakbo, tapos yung family history niya, may history ng corruption, hindi na nakakaupo sa pwesto. That's how discerning the Korean people are. Pero alam nyo kasi sa atin, basta pogi, nagbudots, panalo. Oo, kahit nagkakaso. Okay? Diba? Though hindi ko sinasabing they don't deserve second chance. I don't say that. I personally believe in second chances. But in some instances, you need to see if there are red flags. Pag may red flags, kailangan malaman natin ano yung red flags na yan. Okay? So, if it's somehow, like for example, mahirap siya, nagnakaw siya, dahil para makapakain niya yung pamilya, parang sa Les Miserables, look down, ganyan, sabing ganyan. Kung napakinggan nyo na yung kanta na yon, yung first part, yung prelude ng Les Miserables. Ayan. So, ganun siya. Naniniwala ako sa ganun. Na totoo nga. May mga bagay sa mga tao at may mga bagay na hindi bagay sa mga tao. Okay? I remember when I was an elementary, first time na may tumakbo, isang senador. Tumakbo siyang senador, nanalo siyang senador. And his first bill, ang una niyang bill magkaroon ng selebrasyon ng Linggo ng Wika. Okay? Linggo ng Wika. Yun yung first bill niya. Pero people, for almost 50 decades, nagse-celebrate na tayo ng buwan ng wika. You see, my point is that kung kahit sino na lang pwede maging senador, ano na lang ang batas ng Pilipinas? 'Di ba? Sorry to say, parang si Bato de la Rosa. Anong significant law ang naipasa ni Bato de la Rosa? Though I'm not telling he's not a good cop, siguro magaling siyang pulis, pero baka hindi siya fit para sa senator.
Bongo din po, sir.
Ano yan?
Si Bongo din po.
Si Bongo. Anyways, I'm just trying to, I know you're critical. Alam kong hindi naman kayo syusyunga-syunga. Ano yan, Sedi, para sa healthy buhay at para sa healthy Pinas kay Risa Hontiveros. Tama ba? Ha? O, ipanalo si Risa. Dahil pag si Risa ang lumaban, panalo ang mamamayan. Huwag mo akong umpisahan, Sedi. Kami ang unang lumaban sa kanya. Kami ang unang nagdala sa kanya. Ayan. So, one of the good senator na siguro pwede nating iboto is Risa Hontiveros. Nangampan niya. Another is Bam Aquino. Sa TES, siya may sponsor nun. Nasabi ko naman na. Anyways, nasabi ko.
sir.
Oo. Ayan. So, kung alam nyo na siya ang nag-author ng TES, ibig sabihin matalino kayong botante. At pag hindi porke pogi o maganda, accept na agad. Know their identity. Be purposeful when connecting to people. Hindi lang porke pogi, inad na ni Seti. 'Di ba? Oh. Hindi lang porke nagpakita ng muscles saka ng abs, friend na ni Sedi. Wag ganon. Okay? Wag bias. Okay? Parang walang laptop, edi cellphone.
Pag babae, sir, wa-accept.
Oo. Alam nyo, itong mga
Baka poser.
Yeah. So, mga pagbabae, poser, ganyan. Ganda-ganda lang. Next. In case of harassment or abuse, utilize report function. It is still better to talk to your friends and family. Okay? And then, cyberbullying is just around in all social networking sites. Na marami dyan. Maraming Karen. If you know Karen, Karen is the symbolical identity of racism in America. So pag sinabing another Karen is alive, ayan. So ibig sabihin racist ang inaano. Okay? Harassment, intimidate, but we can control our end. So ignore the behavior, block the person, click report button, talk to a trustworthy person about it. So that's how we do, and that's what we do, what we can do, I should say, and that's how we can protect ourselves. Okay, so tapos na. Man, galing naman. Natapos ko na yung lecture. Diba? My lecture is done. So,
Pero,
29, yes, questions.
Sino ang president mo, sir?
Ano?
Sino po ang president mo?
Okay, saglit lang.
I am.
Bad trip si Sir Eka, bad trip. Ayan, okay, so the requirements. What are the requirements? One, sinulat ko na rito yung requirements. You'll be making, I'll be providing a detailed instruction about this one. I'll be providing detailed instruction about this one. Pero ito yung mga gagawin ninyo. You're gonna create rope display, diorama, wall display, flip chart, Wordle, QR code. Okay? And for those who doesn't have a Gmail signature yet, ayan, I'll introduce it next time. Okay, next session. So, again, reminder sa mga hindi pa po nakakapag-umpisa sa kanilang Microsoft Educator, people, umpisahan nyo na po ang Microsoft Educator ninyo dahil magsasara na po ang link, okay, ng submission yan after 1 week from now. Okay? So, dapat natapos nyo na yung first part ninyo ng Microsoft Educator. 20 hours po yun. So,
Sir, paano po ulit yun, sir? Manonood kami?
yes.
And then may
Sige.
certificate po,
Ay,
sir?
by the way, yung pala, isushow ko po muna pala yung mga ano. Let me close my share screen. And then, let me move it this one here. And then, yeah. Let's open this one. Okay. Let's open this one. This one. Let's open it model. Ayan. Let me share to you my screen. I love you, Jefferson. Oh, I saw your ano, your very blatant, very vulgar and fierce post, darling. Asan si Jefferson? Kailangan niya mag-camera on. Jefferson.
Ako, sir?
Yeah. I love it. I love your post. I believe that there are so many apologies in life. They're
Yes.
apologizing for the mistake of the people. It's true. Meaning, naniniwala ako dun sa sagot ni Normis Wari na hindi nga natin masabi na kasalanan ng isa ay kasalanan ng ano. But, the point would be, sometimes people needs closure. And one closure that people needs is, they need someone to say na nagkamali sila. Siguro pag may nagsabi sa kanilang nagkamali kami at nandito kami para baguhin ito at gusto namin makasama kayo, tulungan nyo kaming baguhin yung naging imahe namin noon. Maybe if that would be the way they're talking right now, baka pwede pa. Oo. Pero yung tipong sasabihin nilang walang mali, that's a big no-no. Diba? Actually, I applaud you every time nakikita ko yung post mo. Perfect tong anak mong ito. Yeah. I read your post. I love it. Continue doing it. But be careful baka ma-red tag tayo. Okay, so let me share to you my screen. This one and this one. Yeah, I'll be sharing two screens. There you go. Yeah. Okay, so you're seeing right now my Edmodo account. So this is an Edmodo account wherein, ayan, my students have posted some of their activities here. Yung iba na wala na. Oo, wala na yung iba nilang activities sa akin. So here are my classes. Sabi ko nga, very interactive na sila, no? Parang Facebook na lang din. I think Sir Glenn Cabote is using Edmodo. Okay, yun yung
Yes, sir.
LMS niya.
Yes, sir.
Edmodo ang gamit niya.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Dito pwede rin mag-chat. Ayan. Later on, pagagawin ko rin kayo dito. Okay? And then, ito yung sa Edmodo. Okay? Aside from Schoology. Now, we also have ito. This is an MOOC. Okay? An MOOC or massive open online courses. And we're currently enrolled in UPAW or University of the Philippines Open University classes. Ito yon. Wherein you can actually enroll in various subjects. Okay, you can enroll in various subjects and finish it, and you can gain certificates. So here are the present topics that they have. Gearing up for the next normal, Foundation of Early Childhood Education. Meron pala itong sa ma-attend nga dito. Yan, teaching and learning with modern ICTs. Ayan. Hoy, mag-join kayo rito. Ayan. Nakita ko, no? Pag-joining ko kayo. Pwede pa pala ito, September 30. Ay, hindi na pwede. Pagpasensyahan nyo na ako, madalas ako makipag-usap sa sarili ko. Okay. Ito na lang tayo. Blended teaching and learning using OERs. Yan. Okay, so I'll be requiring you to to register later on dito. Okay. So try to create account now in modelupaw.edu.ph. Okay? Kindly ayan na naman si Chriset. Robot na naman si Chriset. Pa-type na lang yung modelupaw.edu.ph. Anyone who can just Lloyd, paki-type na lang yung website tapos i-share mamaya sa GC. Okay? Yeah. Next is ito nga siya. Next, let's have yung sinasabi ko sa inyong I'm developing a website. Okay? I'm currently developing a website. my personal LMS. This is powered by a Moodle.
Sir, meron po akong model, wala lang po sariling domain.
Ay, perfect Agkanas. Oh yeah, actually yun ang susunod. Bibili tayo ng mode ng domain. Pero maingay si Agkanas kahit kailan talaga. Kagabi, hindi ka nakakapag-unmute tapos ngayon puro ka unmute ng unmute, ha? Pasneya ka. Okay? So, eto siya. Ayan. So, may ICT competency. Ayan. Actually, I am currently enrolled in this one. Ita-type ko lang.
Sir, yung sa DepEd ICTS yung LMS mo, sir?
Ayan. Naka-enroll ka dito? Professional
Sir,
development.
yes, sir.
Ay, makaka-asar naman. Maintenance schedule.
Nagdadrive ata siya Agkanas.
Ayan. So, generally, yan yung inaano natin. Okay? Oo, nagda-drive si Michael. My God! Michael, turn off ka muna. Uwi ka muna. Uwi ka muna ng safe.
Mapabaso ka tayo, sir.
Oo. Baka mamaya magkasala pa tayo. Okay? Mahirap na. Okay? So, yan siya. Okay? So, kailangan po bang i-display yung sa Microsoft? Kung anong gagawin? Parang na-discuss ko na yung nakaraan. Do I need to, people? O para lang kay Sedi? Kasi si Sedi may kasalanan na talaga sa totoo lang.
Sir, hindi ko pa po kasi talaga na-open.
So, ibig sabihin, hindi ka pa hindi ka kasi nanonood ng mga lectured video. Hindi ka nanonood ng recorded video, tapos madadamay lahat kasi hindi ka nagli-listen.
Ako lang ba?
O si Sedi lang ba? O Sedi, walang ibang sumasagot, ikaw lang.
Support naman, Matt. Mga poka kayo mamaya-maya.
Matt!
Kasi presidente.
Sir, kasi may badge na kami. May badge na po ako isa.
May badge ka na, Pamela. O buti pa si Pamela, may badge nang natapos. So, hindi. O stop ko na nga, Rod.
May 3 na po.
O JR, may 3 ng badge. Si Zeddy lang talaga. So, imagine nyo yun, magbabalik tayo sa lesson 1 dahil lang kay Zeddy. Diba? Ang hassle nun, diba? Sagot, people! Ay, walang sasagot. Parang gagawin kong 50.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
O Zeddy, wala akong magagawa. Okay, so you go with training and then you check for the learning paths. In learning paths, major siya, parang group subjects na to, nakakompile yung mga topics. Like for example, when you go here, asan na yung 21st century? When you go to inclusive classroom in 21st century, yan, one note teacher academy, and then 21st century learning design. These are generally the 3 topics na kailangan nyo matapos the whole sem. So, 21st century learning design, learning path siya, it includes 8 courses. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 badges. So, may 8 badges yung learning path na yan. For one note, meron tayong 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 learning badges. So, it's 3.5 hours. For inclusive classroom foundation, we have, hindi ko pa tapos ito. Ang sad ko naman. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Yan. 5 learning badges. So, maliban dyan, meron pa. Okay, so, kaya dapat, SEDI,
Sir, manonood lang naman dun
Pamela, ikaw nga sumagot. Anong gagawin doon?
Sir, may quiz siya.
Diba, may quiz na kailangang tapusin. So, dapat
Yes po,
ipasa
7,
mo yung quiz. Actually,
7
parang
items quiz po.
yung iba 7 items, yung iba hindi, ganon. Tapos, kailangan dapat either 100% or 80% mo siyang maipasa.
8 po.
Oo, ganon. I
Dapat
doubt.
dapat isa lang yung mali.
Oo, ganon. I doubt lang. Kasi si Sedi hindi siya nakafocus.
Sir, sisimulan ko na ngayon. After Sir Melvin klase.
Oy, tapos na klase niya. Ba't may klase pa kayo uli?
Oo, sir. After ng klase mo.
Maldita talaga yun. Nagklase kayo kanina? Hindi kayo nagklase kanina, kaya kayo ngayon magkaklase.
Opo, sir.
Attitude. Okay, sige. Ayan, may question pa. Crisette, yes, mas madali siyang gawin. Hindi. Parang alam ko pwede siyang i-access sa sa cellphone, yung MOOC. Yung upaw pwede niyong i-access sa cellphone. What else? Any other question?
May babayaran ba sa upaw?
Wala, free siya. Parang Microsoft free lang siya. Ang i-require niya lang sa inyo oras. Oras niyo lang. Wala siyang bayad. Lahat ng pinipresent ko sa inyo ngayon walang bayad. Yung sa susunod merong bayad.
Sir, i-require mo ba kaming gumawa ng sariling LMS through Moodle?
Baka hindi na. Baka mabagtit kayo lalo. Baka murahin nyo ako, ipakulam nyo pa ako.
Bakit? Ang dali-dali naman, sir.
Huwag kang dyan, Michael Agcanas, pag ikaw binigyan kita ng activity, maulaw-ulaw ka
Sir, susundan lang naman
People, sagot!
Araya.
Wag na, sir.
Wag na, sir.
Si Michael lang po.
People, sabay-sabay nating awayin si Agcanas.
Si Michael na lang, sir.
Awayin!
Sir, kung gusto niya siya na lang.
Michael lang.
Wag siya
Hindi.
mandamay, sir.
Hindi ko yun ang ipapagawa sa inyo. Yung papagawa ko sa inyo yung website nyo. Na-present ko na last time, di ba, yung yung WordPress, tsaka yung yung Google site. Harleen, sino yung katabi mo?
Ako po, sir.
Hi, mother! Magandang hapon po. Ayan.
Po, good afternoon, sir.
Ayan. People, na? Di ba okay tayo doon? Kasi mamaya pag pinagawa ko sa inyo ng Moodle ninyo, awayin nyo na ako, pakulam nyo pa ako mga kayo, beklaban.
Sir, wala pa po kaming jowang IT.
Hoy, bakla, wala akong jowang IT. Huwag kang nag-insinuate dyan. Maraming suitor, pero hindi ko sinasagot. Charing. Ayan. So, are there any question? Si Agnes? Bakit si Agnes?
Wala, sir. Wala.
Si Agnes may jowang IT.
Ala, si sir parang...
Wala. Si Agnes may jowang IT. Second year ba ito or third year? O graduate na? Ang sagot.
Sir, graduate na.
Sino? Agnes, sino? NC ba ito,
Sir,
Agnes?
secret.
Graduate ng...
NC.
Sino,
Sir,
Michael?
NC po.
Michael, sino? Si Grace Palermo, meron din daw jowang IT. At ikaw pa talaga umamin dyan sa Facebook Live, Ang lambot, Yeah.
Sir, joke lang yan. Sir, joke lang yan.
Yung format sa waiver, sabi ko sa inyo, gumawa kayo, di ba? Tapos i-send nyo sa akin para i-check ko lang.
Sir,
Wala pang nagsisend.
sir, tapos na po kami. Nakapag-upload na po kami.
Saan ngayon nag-upload?
Sa Facebook po, sir, tsaka sa YouTube po.
Okay. Doon ko ba sinabi ipopost nyo?
Wala pa po, sir, pero pinost na lang po namin.
Hoy, wag muna! Hold nyo, delete nyo muna.
Naka-private, sir.
Oo,
Naka-private po, sir. Sa inyo lang po nakakita.
Oo, naniniwala ako dyan, Grace. Advantage pag may jowa kang IT. Pero sana all. Ako wala eh.
Sige sir, maghahanap na ako ng IT.
RJ, hindi mo lang yan magawa. Sinasabi ko sa'yo talaga. Sisirain ko ang life mo. O narinig nyo yan ha. Hahanapan ako ni RJ ha. Saksi kayo ha. That's a binding contract. Signed and deal. Okay.
Ala kayo. Sige sir, maghanap na tayo ngayon din.
Sasabi ko sa'yo, RJ, may tanong pa.
Sir, yung format po ba po pwedeng G-form sa my waiver?
Pwede lang din naman, especially if you will be doing it online. Okay
Sir,
lang.
nag-send na kami.
Saan, anak?
Sa 30, sir.
Sa 30. Ayun yung sa email ko.
Sir, link lang yun, sir, kasi G-form yung sa amin. Sinin mo lang naman daw.
Sabi ni Kenneth, sir, sinin mo lang daw.
Sir, sinisin mo na lang daw siya.
Ay, si Ken, sorry Kenneth, saglit lang. I-check
Ay,
na
wala
natin.
wala akong sinabing ganun.
Huwag kang mag-alala, Kenneth. For you, everything is priority. Aro?
Sir, natatandaan mo yung sinabi ko sa'yo kagabi.
Ano yon?
Hindi ako
Huwag kang mag-alala, Aime. Hindi rin naman ako nagpapasa. Asan yung chat ni ano? Christian, i-chat mo uli ako. Natabunan na siya actually. Pero parang nag-okay na ata ako dun sa sinend ni Christian. Parang nakita ko na. Google link ba yan, Christian? Kenneth?
Yes, sir.
Oo, parang umokay na ako dyan. Oo, ito yung Google Form. Saglit lang, i-check ko. O yung mga magpapacheck din, i-ano nyo ako, update nyo ako. Issue 4, yeah, okay na yan. Good to go. Good to go na yan.
Thank you, sir.
What else do we have? What else are our other concern? Ilang session pa ba? Ilang lesson pa ba yung tatapusin natin? So 1 2 3. 3 discussion na lang ang kailangang tapusin. And then the rest of the time, I'll be giving it to you as your time to do the activities. Okay? So for now siguro, ano na ba? Ano pa ang kailangan ko i-discuss muna bago tayo So let's have Unit 5, Theories and Principles. Okay yan, importante. Yeah, sige. Let's have muna ng Theories and Principles. After ng next week discussion, siguro ang susunod nating lesson siguro is by November. Yeah. Kasi yung 2 weeks na hindi tayo mag-meet probably, ibibigay ko sa inyo as time for you to do the activities. Okay? So yun siya. And at the same time, sabi ko nga, as part of your requirement, as a class, as a batch ha, magkakaroon tayo ng online subscription. Okay? We'll be subscribing siguro mga 2 or 3 online sites na pwede nating paggamitan. Okay, maliwanag? For now, bago matapos ang December, I want you to, hindi pa kasi tayo tapos sa discussion sa assessment ninyo, hindi pa rin kayo nakakapag-curriculum unpacking. Kasi if ever ang gagawin ko is that per major, you'll be producing 1 instructional material using Powtoon. Okay? So, as a group naman yun. Powtoon, ano-ano daw yun, sabi ni Cedric. I-search nyo. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, lahat ng mga bagong terms sa inyo, mga bagong sites sa inyo, take down notes nyo, tapos i-search nyo. Hindi kailangan lahat ng bagay ibibigay sa inyo. Ano ito? Spoon feeding? Mga baklang to, college na kayo, lahat isusubo.
Sir, ano yun, sir? Powtoon?
Powtoon. P-O-W-T-O-O-N. Okay? Similar siya ng Doodly. Okay? Or ng Toonly. Alam niyo yung mga video animated cartoons na discussion? Yun siya. Actually, may subscription tayo ngayon doon. Okay? So, pwede nyong gamitin yun free. Premium account yun. Okay? Yan. And then later on, siguro, mag-ano ka ng discussion on how to make research happy. Okay? Diba? Meaning, research made easy. Ano ang hacks ng paggawa ng research? Saan makakakuha ng mga references? Saan makakakuha ng mga literatures and everything? Okay? So, yung mga yun. Ha? Pinag-isipan ko kung seminar yon na bayad o free. I don't know. Okay? So, what else? Ano pa ang kailangan natin pag-usapan?
Sir, yung mga pinapagawa nyo po ngayon, yun na po yung requirements namin at the end of the semester or meron
Yes,
pa?
it's a collective activity ninyo na ilalagay nyo lahat sa website ninyo. Lahat ng mga information, lahat ng mga activities na pinapagawa ko sa inyo, these are parts of your website. 'Di ba? E-portfolio nga, discuss natin kanina, collections of all your tasks. Yun. Ano pa? So I believe pag pinagawa ko na kayo ng lesson plan, pag pinag-unpack ko na kayo, magagawa nyo na. Have I presented? Ay, hindi ko pa pala sa inyo na i-present. Sa klase ko lang pala sa assessment na i-present ang curriculum unpacking. Sige. Let's allow me to show you a sample of a curriculum unpacking. This curriculum unpacking activity is for science. Okay. Wait lang. Ayan. Ito po siya. So, para aware kayo ng mga gagawin ninyo at kung gaano siya kadali, di ba? Ang happy-happy kayo ng mga pinapagawa ko. Kulang na lang isumpa nyo ako, di ba? So, here it is. Here is an example of a curriculum unpacking of curriculum guide. Actually, sa curriculum unpacking na gagawin ninyo, na ipapagawa rin sa inyo ni Sir Melvin ninyo, okay. Actually, sabi ko nga, this is shooting two birds in one stone. Okay? Ito yung requirement niyo sa assessment, requirement nyo rin sa EdTech. Pero saglit lang, mukhang malabo siya. Malabo sa inyo, no?
Yes, sir.
Ang pitch naman kasi nitong ano na ito. Pangit ng internet. Ayan, somehow okay na. So, yung content at learning competencies, ay, lumabo uli. Yung content tsaka learning competencies, hindi nyo na problema yan. Okay? Kasi yan, galing na yan sa curriculum guide mismo. So, ano na lang po problemahin ninyo? Ang problemahin nyo lang, objectives, learning activities, at assessment tasks. 3 na lang. Okay? So, just to give you a very short idea, a very quick idea of what you will do. Okay? Halimbawa, yung isang learning competency, i-unpack nyo siya. Ibig sabihin, hihimayin nyo. Describe the components of a specific scientific investigation. Ito yung nagagawa ng bata. Ang point ngayon, paano natin yan gagawin na maging possible na magawa ng bata. So, we provide objectives. We unpack it. Kumbaga, ito yung learning competency, himayin pa natin. Okay? So first, we have to identify the different components of scientific investigation, elaborate the function process of each component, and perform scientific investigation following its components as a guideline. Okay? So, hindi nyo pa siya gano'n siguro masink in ngayon. And then after doing the objectives, hindi tayo didiretso sa learning activities. No. Anong gagawin natin? After identifying and providing the objectives, punta tayo sa assessment task. Paano natin i-evaluate ang bata para lumabas itong objective na ito? Okay? So kung halimbawa, from the point, identify the different components of scientific investigation, anong assessment task ang pwedeng gawin? Di naulaw na kayo, wala nang sumagot sa akin. Okay, di ba?
Experiment.
Identify the different components of scientific investigation. Experiment, pwede. Okay. What else?
Hindi mabasa po yung iba.
My point, Lloyd, is experiment a learning assessment task or a learning activity?
Ay, sir, learning activity po pala.
Are you sure
Sir,
na hindi siya assessment task?
no, sir, kasi kapag assessment is gagamit sa pag-ano na siya, pag-evaluate.
Pag-evaluate lang?
Yung i-evaluate na po yung ginawang experiment, which is learning activities po yung experiment.
So anong gagawin natin anong gagawin natin para yung experiment ay maging assessment task? Naulaw na sila agad. Okay. O tapos kung yun ang assessment task natin, ano yung learning activities natin? And then from here, dahil nakagawa na kayo ng curriculum unpacking, mamimili kayo dyan ng gagawan ninyo ng instructional material gamit ang technology. Okay? Maliwanag?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So kung wala nang tanong, bye people.
Bye, sir.
Maghahanap ako ng kadate ko.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Love you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye people sa
Sir, Happy
Zoom.
Teacher's Day.
Thank you so much. Hoy, pag greet nyo, dapat may gift. Hindi yung puro greet lang.
Happy Teacher's Day with gift,
Bye-bye,
sir.
sir. Mama chup-chup.
Hoy, si Princess Joy, in lababo. Blooming na blooming ang love life. O, di ba?
Sir.
Princess, aminin mo na, princess.
May tahong ni Carla, ganon.
Sana
Hindi
all.
lang natapos yun,
May
sir.
tahong. Sana all may tahong.
Ayan. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Asan na si sino ba yun yung kaninang madaldal na may bata? Yung yes ma'am, tama po ma'am. Asan na yun?
Sarili.
Si Sarile. Mary Jean Sarile, where are you? Sarile? Diyan pa ba si Sarile? Diyan pa ba si Sarile? Wala na. Wala na si Sarile. Sayang. Pakisabihan si Sarile, gusto ko yung estudyante ko doon
Please sumasagot, sir.
O sumasagot siya, 'di ba? Unlike si Sarile, hindi sumasagot, 'di ba?
Pero sagot, sir, yes, ma'am. So parang babae siguro yung boses.
Oo, ay babae yung boses ka doon. Yes, ma'am. Sabi, ala, tab ko 'yon. Sige, sabi ko sa inyo dapat hindi nyo ibinibisit yung maestra para magaan lang ang klase, 'di ba?
Happy Teacher's Day, ma'am.
Diyos ko, agkanas mabilis po make up. Baklang to, kahit ano ka kahapon, hindi ka nakikinig sa klase.
Sir, nakikinig!
Attitude ka kahit nagse-cellphone ka habang nagkaklase ako. Sagot ka. Wala kang may sagot, di ba? Bye everyone. Class dismissed. Thank you.
Bye, sir.